Lots to get to. Let's get to it. First, we're starting at the Liberal pay-to-play scheme. And, well, here it is. Stephen Taylor says you're 3 times more likely to get appointed as a judge in Canada if you're a Liberal donor than a Conservative donor. Are you concerned about this? That seems not right. Right? That seems like that should be wrong or something to that effect. CBC Watcher says, and this is a quote from the article he's linking, which we'll look at in just a second. It says, quote, at least 6 current Superior Court justices may have paid to meet with the Prime Minister or the Deputy Prime Minister at Liberal Party fundraisers shortly before being appointed. Well, that's suspicious, if you ask me. Here's the National Post article about this, and it says, Donating Judges is a series of articles examining the politicization of the federal appointments to Canada's courts and tribunals. It is the result of an 8-month data analysis investigation by the National Post and Investigative Journalism Foundation. Now, one of the things that I am interested in talking about and often talk about is the fact that our judges and our legal system seems compromised. Just like our elections seem compromised, the system itself seems compromised. We've had situations, the Coots Four are in jail and they've got no bail, which if you're running around shooting an illegal gun in Toronto, bail for you same day, no problems. But if you were part of a freedom convoy or a blockade, well, you're going to rot in prison, or you're going to have a high-profile trial years after the fact, a la Tamara Lich and Chris Barber. So I think that our system itself, from the electoral system to the judicial system, is corrupt to the core. So I'm glad that they were getting some evidence about this to see that, yes, in fact, pay-to-play is a part of our legal system, and here it is. The Liberals have introduced it, and they're quite comfortable with it, actually. Here's what happened. At least 6 current Superior Court justices may have paid to meet with the Prime Minister or the Deputy Prime Minister at Liberal Party fundraisers shortly before being appointed. These findings come in the wake of an earlier analysis by the National Post and the Investigative Journalism Foundation, IJF, which found that over 3 times as many Liberal Party donors have been appointed to judicial offices than the Conservative donors since 2016. The IJF and the Post matched the names and cities of federally appointed judges from the government's Orders in Council database against fundraiser attendance lists from Elections Canada regulated fundraising event registry covering 2019 to now, and historical event records posted on the Liberal Party website. All federal fundraisers with tickets over $200 and featuring a party leader, cabinet minister, or leadership contestant must be reported to the Elections Canada. Persons with similar names of 3 federally appointed judges to Alberta's Superior Trial Court appear on the fundraising registry. Robert Armstrong and Michael Bork, both of Calgary, attended several fundraisers with high-level cabinet members, sometimes together, with their last attendance at events just a couple of months before judges with similar names were appointed to Alberta's Court of King's Bench. Robert W. Armstrong of Calgary was appointed to the bench in February 2021, while Michael H. Bork, also of Calgary, was appointed in December of 2021. Michael Bork of Calgary is listed as having attended 5 Liberal Party fundraisers between October 2017 and September 21, with 1 Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and 2 with Deputy Prime Minister Freeland. Robert Armstrong of Calgary attended 3 fundraisers for the Liberals between July 2018 and October 2020, 2 with Trudeau and in attendance and 1 with Freeland. Both Armstrong and Bork, as well as Kevin Fetch, a similar name to another Alberta judge, appeared to have been Laurier Club members, an exclusive club run by the Liberal Party for its top donors. Supporters can join the club by the Laurier Club by donating $1,700 per year, the maximum legal limit for contributions to a national party. None of the 3 Alberta judges responded to multiple attempts from the Post and the IJF to reach them to confirm that they were the attendees in question. The IJF and the Post also contacted the judges via the court itself. A spokesperson for the court confirmed that the questions were forwarded to the judge, giving them the opportunity to respond if desired. Ooh, I won't wait for that one. Janice Steele from Toronto was appointed to the Superior Court of Justice of Ontario in May 2020. Janice Steele from the Toronto area attended 2 Liberal fundraisers in 2018 and 19. The first was a Laurier Club event headlined by Trudeau. The 2019 event was a $1,625 per ticket breakfast reception, also hosted by the Prime Minister and held at the Fairmont Royal York Hotel in Toronto. Previous media reports have also identified Steele as a Liberal supporter. The Post and the IJF reached out to the Ontario Superior Court of Justice asking about fundraiser attendance. A spokesperson for the court confirmed the emailed questions were forwarded to Steele. Steele did not respond to this message or multiple requests for comment sent to her personal email. The IJF and the Post were unable to confirm that requests for comment were successfully received by the two other judges, and one currently sitting on the Ontario Superior Court of Justice and another on the Supreme Court of Newfoundland and Labrador. When asked in July why Liberal donors are more likely to be appointed to judicial positions than Conservatives and other opposition party donors, a spokesperson for the Liberal Prime Minister, or for the Prime Minister's office, Mohammed Hassan, responded, quote, "The process is always based on merit. We do not use political party databases." The IJF and the Post asked directly in a follow-up message if other methods of determining applicants' political leanings are used besides political databases, such as attendance at fundraisers. In response, another spokesperson for the PMO, Alison Murphy, said, "Our government has been committed to an open and transparent merit-based appointments process to encourage continued trust in Canada's democracy and ensure the integrity of its public institutions. The federal judicial appointments process starts with recommendations from independent judicial advisory committees, JACs, and the Minister of Justice. However, the Prime Minister has final discretion over who gets appointed. The Prime Minister is not legally obligated to follow the recommendations provided to him and is not required to disclose when the candidate most highly recommended by the JACs are passed over." So there you go. Very interesting. If you meet the right Liberal and are attending the right events, you have a much higher chance of getting appointed as a judge. Now, is that just happenstance, right? Oh, I was thinking I needed a Liberal judge. Good thing you showed up at this event that you paid to be here for. Thanks for your donation, right? I guess I could appoint you as you've made the effort, right? Like, could it be coincidence? Do you still believe in coincidences? Jason is responding to this. He says, in summary, the current Superior Court judges made donations to Trudeau and the Liberal Party shortly before being appointed. In plain English, they paid the Liberals for their seat. Now, it's very lucrative, right? Like if you're donating $1,700 or even $5,000 over 5 years or something like that, or the equivalent, the max every year for 5 years, you're a good Laurentian club member, et cetera, and then you get a job appointed by the Prime Minister that pays quite a lot of money, that has other perks too. And sure, you're a lawyer and you're a lawyer who's attending these kind of events, et cetera, et cetera. And so like being a lawyer, you would have money and perks, but being a lawyer and then a judge gives you further perks and also clout, right? A judge has more, has a higher reputation than maybe just your regular run-of-the-mill lawyer, and a judge gets to make decisions. And I've often said, it seems like these judges are being honest, and I wonder why. They paid for their seat. Back to Jason. In any other world, at any other time, this would be plastered everywhere on social media, front pages of news publications, the top story on news media, TV programs. This would be a constant point of discussion until a criminal investigation came to a conclusion, and then the decision would be debated for months afterwards. This is so corrupt at a fundamental level, we cannot refer to our justice system under the Trudeau Liberals as democratic in any way. But this is now where the rot is so deep and the corruption is so rampant, it's lost in the maze of other crooked crap this government does on a minute-to-minute basis. This is just another article and just another post. Move along now. Yeah. And I mean, unfortunately, from SNC Lavalin to Chinese interference and tinkering in our elections, these scandals aren't touching this prime minister. And it's not because the public loves him. The public hates him. The public can't stand this guy. He's an idiot. But our judiciary has been corrupted. Our elections have been corrupted. And what else has been corrupted by this, right? How do we fix this? The only way to fix this, you can't investigate a sitting government, and you can't investigate a previous government when the political opponents of that government come to power, because it looks like a witch hunt. So you need to have a government whose only job it is to get to the bottom of it, find the bad guys, meaning the people who allowed the Chinese infiltration, the people who benefited from it, the people who turned a blind eye, expose them, give them some kind of consequence that's reasonable to the people, whether that be jail time or other, I don't know, parole, something else. and I'm sure that there are people who would want a much severe punishment than just jail time. Treason carries a very high cost, right? So get to the bottom of it, honestly, because there's nothing else that's more important in Canada at this point in time. Like, sure, axe the tax, but if we find out that all of the policies that were implemented by this government were policies that were meant to harm the country at the behest of a foreign nation who has not declared war on us, but is engaging in acts of war against us, we need to stop that. We need to investigate that. That's bad, right? Like those things that government did at the behest of that other government should be null and void. Never mind axe the tax. Axe everything they effing well did. Everything. Eject them all. And Mr. Poilievre was there. Mr. Poilievre was all through the Harper cabinet, and then sitting around while O'Toole and Scheer and all the rest allowed all of the COVID lockdowns. He took a picture. Mr. Poilievre took a picture with the Nova Scotia. His first name's Tim, and I can't remember his last name at the moment. But the Nova Scotia premier, the day, was it Nova Scotia or I can't remember. I think it was Nova Scotia, where they talked about removing unvaccinated people from going to the grocery store. So, like, I have a huge problem with the idea that, we're doing the best we can with the information we have. They did a piss poor job. They locked down the economy. You'd never do that. You never do that. And people told them that. And so what happened there, right? And not what happened there, Mr. New Prime Minister who's going to axe the tax and fix this. What happened there? Like, get to the bottom of this. And no MP or MPP or mayor or city councilor or public health can say, oh, well, we just did what we thought was right. Yeah, okay, well, you thought was right, and let us know who told you to tell everybody that it was safe and effective, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, the rot is so deep. The investigations need to happen publicly, transparently. Like, think the OJ trial on steroids. You could have like the COVID trial going simultaneously with the investigation, the China investigation trial. And each MP would be all sitting there, like no power. You just have to sit there and listen to all of your colleagues tell how deep the rot was. I didn't know. You didn't know? Well, you had your eyes closed, and you have your eyes closed. It's wild. Here's Michael Cooper, not Michael Chong, excuse me, Michael Cooper. And he's responding to all this. He says a staggering 75% of political donations by PMJT appointed judges are to the Liberals. Records show that some judicial appointments paid big bucks for FaceTime with the Prime Minister and ministers just before their appointments. Under Prime Minister's Justin Trudeau's broken appointment process, donating to the Liberals pays off. Sure does. Sure does. Think of the salary, the years-long salary, the perks, the reputation. I mean, why wouldn't you spend $1,700 to go hang out with some stuffy cabinet members on a Saturday night, right? Everybody will love you, and then maybe you get appointed to a cushy judge seat, right? Maybe you get a driver, right? It's wild. Dan Knight is talking about this too. He writes a bit of a tome about it. He's very upset. He says, today's headline gave us a judicial appointment scandal that's enough to make any Canadian shake their head in disbelief. Judges, the pillar of our justice system, are apparently being handpicked based on their willingness to financially support the Liberal Party. It's not just disheartening, it's downright dangerous. But wait, there's more. Remember that last year's spectacle involving the Trudeau Foundation, a $200,000 donation came through cloaked as a Canadian contribution, but in reality it was tied to Chinese businessmen. This wasn't just a questionable act. It raised alarms about foreign influence reaching into the very core of our nation. Now let's connect these dots. What's the common thread? The apparent auctioning off of Canadian principles, be it judicial independence or the integrity of charitable foundations, for the highest bidder, and all roads seem to lead back to one place, Trudeau's office and China. And China, right? So pretty interesting stuff. People aren't happy, but if our judiciary is cracked and crooked, if our elections are cracked and crooked, what are we going to do? If the heir apparent and the next prime minister was just as deep and just as, he wanted more vaccines, he wanted vaccines faster, if he's just as bad, I mean, are people going to wake up? I'm not holding my breath. Alex says we have almost 90 vaccines COVID on the brain. We have almost 90 vacancies on the bench. Some open up to 18 months, cases thrown out every day, delays and strains system-wide. Now we learn that for the right price, the Prime Minister will greenlight appointments. There is no system that this government hasn't corrupted. Yeah, I would agree with that. And here's a couple of examples of why these Liberal appointments are a bad idea. Blacklock's reporter, or Holly Doan, says, lawyer, Justice Canada, EN, so this one the Department of Justice lawyer is implicated in editing Blacklock's Wikipedia page is named a judge. So 2016 incident led to disciplinary measures against a courthouse clerk. So this guy is in trouble, but he got promoted, right? Donated to the right person at the right time. Alexander Kaufman is a senior counsel with the Department of Justice in Ottawa and has a civil litigation practice focused on administrative law and commercial disputes. He is the co-author of the annotated Arbitration Act 1991 and annotated Ontario arbitration legislation, and a part-time professor at the University of Ottawa Faculty of Law. Oh, he's one of those, right? So the woke professors who don't want to have any sense talk to them at all. Here's another example of why these are a bad idea. Another Liberal appointee had to retry $100 million+ case, cost taxpayers and clients thousands of dollars. So this is solitaire playing judge raises issue of procedural fairness in NMAX Trans-Atlanta Power lawsuit. So he was playing solitaire. He knew what he was gonna. He knew how he was going to rule. He didn't need to listen. So he's gonna play solitaire. Hello everyone, thanks very much for watching. This is just a short version of a longer show. If you'd like to get the whole show, you can go over to CanadaPoly.com and sign up for a subscription. Just look in the drop-down tab for Shop and Donate and look for subscriptions, and you'll get immediate access to the full show. Love to see you. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.